right, welcome to the Product Momentum Podcast, recording live from Pendomonium 2023. Big shout out to our friends over at Pendo for having us out to the conference this year. And really excited to be joined today by Yochai Konig. He's the VP of Machine Learning and AI at Ada, the customer experience automation platform, where he's been conducting research and leading the AI practice for almost 3 years. Before that, he founded Utopia, which pioneered the speech analytics market years ago and was acquired by Genesis. He was there for a long time after the acquisition. Large language models are the little black dress of product in 2023, but Yochai has been embedded in this space for over 25 years, since he attended Berkeley to pursue a PhD in comp sci in the early 90s. That's when he got into automatic speech recognition, ASR, and natural language processing, NLP, which are now described as conversational AI. So, leading thinker on this space. Listen, we're really excited to have you here today, Yochai.
I'm excited to be here. It's usually I work and build. Finally, I speak to people and kind of try to share my lessons of actually building products with other people.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you. And I'm Kyle Posady. I head up marketing for ITX. And we're joined today, of course, by Mr. Sean Flaherty, EVP of Innovation at ITX, who you all recognize from every episode of the podcast going back 100-something episodes. So thanks for being here, Sean.
Thanks, Kyle.
Let's jump into it. I think it might help to start simple and say, can you talk to us a little bit about conversational AI and what is the space from your perspective today?
Yes, so conversational AI is any way that human interact with machine or with AI. It can be via chatting, messaging, can be via voice, it can be via imaging, video. And conversational AI is the medium or the entity that you converse with in any form that's available to you. Today, this field is very hot given large language model that are slowly becoming more what I call multimodal. Currently, mainly we all know the chat prompt, we type something, we get answer back. Now there is GPT-4 vision, we can insert visual, but eventually we can speak to this LLM in any modality that we want.
Wow, yeah.
And they'll also give us their generation any modality they want. So today it's separated. DALL-E is like doing images, there are some video generation, and there is obviously ChatGPT to do text, but eventually it will be one model that you can give any modality and output any modality.
Right, so we'll be saying, can you draw me a diagram of that kind of thing, and it'll be spitting it back out for us.
Yes, or you can say, can make a silly face and said, please describe my face.
Yeah. Well, I know very few people that have spent so much time working in a single domain. I mean, this is 2.5 decades of your life. What do you think is the most important thing you learned about AI in 25 years? 25 plus years?
It's a very good question. Give me a second. This is a...
No problem. And we'll post-edit. So
yeah,
we have geniuses behind the scenes here.
Yes. All right. It's nothing. That the best AI is not functioning as human functioning. There was a lot of effort to create AI, like expert system in the past or other way. Let's learn from how we are doing stuff and try somehow to transfer it to a machine. It's not about this. Let's make as less assumption as possible. Let's insert as less bias as possible. Let's give the raw data and the objective function. And the best AI in the world will find the best way for AI to do it that may be not applicable to human being given the constraint of our physical brain. So to summarize, describe the task as an objective function, give enough data, and don't bring any other human assumption into the picture.
Wow. That's really interesting.
So injecting minimal bias and...
Assumptions, yes.
Yeah, minimum... Okay. And answering questions that really can't be answered by a single human brain, right?
Yes. If you think about can we memorize the whole internet in our brain?
Yeah.
It's a little bit too big for our brain, even if you go to the most optimistic assumption on the size of our brain. And AI with external memory can do.
Yeah, I love it. You were just on stage and you talked a lot about all things AI. And I'm always curious when there's someone on stage that has so much depth of knowledge as someone like you, like what's the one question you wish people would ask you?
That's, by the way, the question that I always ask in interview. When I interview someone, if you were in opposite position,
exactly.
what would they ask me? You learn a lot of this. I will think as a builder, I'll ask more practical questions. So there was not, people like, okay, I described the three principles, that the lesson that we learned from employing it, and I'm expecting to have like a more follow-up. So which model do you use to do it? How to collect the data? Kind of more how to do it. Mm-hmm. Saying this, maybe the people here are product people that sort of specify what, or they're thinking about what can be done, and they leave, if you will, the engineering to do all of this. So I'm still a scientist, still an engineer.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about a lot of, and I'm still shipping products, so I'm thinking a lot of how to do it. And there was not a question of how, there was a more question of what. And that's, if I have to, this happened only 15 minutes ago, but if I have to summarize.
That's a great insight. You're hearing a lot of the what's and a lot of the end products. Because I think, to be completely honest, I think we still don't really, most of the world, even most of technology, doesn't really understand AI and how it works. It's somewhat of a black box for most of us.
Yeah, if you look at kind of this term of emergent, sort of like basically like that's the way that kind of the industry speaks about how it can do stuff without them really knowing. Mm-hmm. So there is emergent, and if you look at what's emergent mean, basically the most simplistic is like as the model get to a different scale, suddenly there's new capabilities. So what's happened if currently the models, let's say, are in ballpark the most trillion weights or trillion parameters, what's happening? It will be 100 trillion. What emerging capability will be out there, and can we human even predict it, understand it? Saying this, there is some effort around interpretability of understanding why the AI is functioning, what it's doing. Some of the leading research there is from Anthropic. So they have like kind of group of neurons within their model are responsible for different dimension and different function. So we are, as a community, we are making some step to understand this, but some of this emerging capability, as I said, just happened. The model developed this concept and output it, and we kind of try to reverse engineer and explain, it's doing all of this stuff.
How's it working? You have to figure it out.
Yeah, so that's, and I think we'll make a lot of progress in the next few years to do it, because that will be our answer, how we can control it or how can we predict it not to do anything bad. The moment we understand what's actually how it works.
Yeah, and I think the better, you mentioned emergent properties, like new capabilities you haven't thought of yet. And if you're trying to solve a single problem with AI, you have one large language model, but it'd be better if you had 50 and you could compare those 50. And then if you could use another AI to look at those 50 responses and then compare those. And it's like a never-ending sort of...
So this is called like mixture of expert. This is...
like the Russian doll.
Mixture of expert, it's a very common technology. And also there is underlying question in what you're saying that the industry, both the practitioner and maybe beyond this, are looking at, is it one giant model, or should we bring a very specific model and somehow combine it in an optimal way?
Yeah.
Both for practical consideration of latency, cost, and so forth. And,
now, until we have quantum.
Yes, but still, like at the end of the day, you want the best AI maybe to be a wearable device without sending it. How we can compress it to this, so people do like 4-bit and kind of all these engineering tricks to make it more computationally efficient. But conceptually, there is all this question: is our brain is one big, or there is a lot of distributed stuff that somehow work in concert to generate it? So, and it's not like I know the answer to this, but these are interesting questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's pull it back from some of that philosophical, though. You've worked in product for a long time, and with a specialization in AI-enabled capabilities. So, what's an AI-enabled product for you? All these products are trying to implement AI capabilities, right? What's an AI-enabled product?
So there will be some repetition what I said to the talk, but I'll try to take the relevant part. I think AI is to serve the application, meaning don't deploy AI just for, hey, we have AI in a product. It's to serve the application, meaning you have to set a measurable objective. This is my application performance. That's how I measure the value that my application or product deliver. And in the moment you insert AI in the first place, or when you upgrade AI, you have to see a noticeable difference in AI. Second property of AI is the ability to create as automatic as possible continuous improvement loop. So today we are here at Pendo, we speak about how to collect NPS and customer feedback and all of this stuff. So product manager semi-automatically, they cluster it, they summarize it, but still a product manager, a human has to look at it, has to figure out, get the insight, has to create a new product. The AI will also, hopefully, will get to a level that can sort of self-optimize, get data, how users are using it, what works, what doesn't work, and create a continuous improvement loop that will be as automatically as possible and reduce the time constant that it takes to improve stuff. If customer prefer this button to be on top and not this, why product managers to be involved in the first place? We see in the data that always go to this button. Can we just change the page? I'm giving a very simplistic example, but so for instance, for us at Ada, we look at knowledge base and guidance. And we do analytics, which is useful to resolve customer issue. And some of them are less useful, some of them are useful. So we can kind of take into account all of this. Or we can see which customer issue are not resolved, automatically generate, let's say, an answer for the unresolved and maybe give to the bot manager, that's what we think should be the answer, do you approve it? So it's still human in the loop, but it's kind of shortening the distance to an actionable change. Kind of from the moment you know how to optimize your product, how long does it take you to ship it?
Right. All in pursuit of that North Star, like essentially the product vision, right?
Yeah, it's like for us, it's automated resolution. We want to solve the customer issues automatically, resolve, not like making not phone lenticle, but actually resolve that you'll be happy. The software actually done. So these are North Star, and so we getting to a level that we deploy a product, learn from the data, and it's the AR percentage, the automated resolution that's a North Star, is increasing.
Right.
Because the software optimized, because as I show the example of RLHF. So all this AI has few answers inside. Maybe it gives the answer 1, but if it's not helping you to resolve, maybe it should give the answer 2 that is also inside because it has all the data of the company. And this kind of continuous improvement loop, self-optimization, I think is additional promise of AI. So,
yeah. By the way, I loved your framework that you put the triangle, the way your AI is successful. It's got to be accurate. It's got to be relevant. It's got to be safe. And that's the thing that you always hear the buzz about is this in the press, right? About the safety of AI.
Yeah. People also call it sometimes, we choose this word, but sometimes people call it the 3H. Honest, helpful, and harmless.
Honest, helpful, and harmless. I like that, 3 H's.
Yeah, so that's another acronym. We chose this because I think it's more relevant to what we are doing. But
yeah, well, I thought that was a good analogy. It's a good window through which to look, a lens to look at how you're leveraging any technology, really, but AI in particular, because we don't know what's inside the black box in a lot of cases.
We have to put the safety mechanism to make sure it's behaving appropriately.
Yeah. You also talked about, in the talk, you talked about pricing, and you struck a chord with me on that. Like how, as a service, like any sort of AI-driven service, how do you anticipate pricing it in the future? Like, it's a hard problem to solve because of the value that it adds.
So we adopted outcome-based pricing.
Outcome-based pricing, I was fascinated by that.
Outcome-based pricing, and we sold customers to date based on outcome-based pricing. Now, first what it is. It means for us, every conversation that we automatically resolved, you are happy as a customer, we are happy, we'll get money based on this. If we're not bring you value, why you should pay us?
Yeah.
And if we bring you more value, pay us more. Now, there is a gentle dance of calibration, make sure that what we consider resolved, you all consider resolved, and there is a mechanism in the product to do this calibration.
Yeah, I heard you say you're using AI to watch the AI.
Yes, but it's calibrating also by human. I didn't go into all these details. But basically, after onboarding both us and the customer, actually, I'm surprised there is no dispute almost, kind of when customer review, because we kind of also tune it to be very conservative. Because we don't want to get with we're saying we resolve, let's say 50%. In practicality, probably it's close to 60, but we took the 50 for sure that we resolve. Pay us by this, we'll be happy, and we'll be aligned. Our line is to increase it. Your goal as a company, our goal is let's not buy seat, let's not pay us by value. So outcome-based pricing. So
I think that's a really interesting model.
Talk about commitment to your vision, right?
Yeah.
We're all in.
We're all in. Yeah, if we're achieving our vision, pay us for exactly how much we did that. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. You also, one other thing you talked about on stage was search versus chat. Somebody asked the question.
Yeah.
Search versus chat. And I think, who wouldn't want to just have a dialogue? If you have the choice, do you want to search and have to filter through a bunch of results? Or would you want those results curated for you in a more...
You want a specific answer to your question.
Yeah.
You don't want... Why do I have to look at 10 documents and figure out the answer if the AI can do it for me?
Yeah.
And I can look at 10. Maybe the answer is in answer 237 or whatever. So...
Right.
Page
17 of
But
Google.
that was a light bulb moment for me, looking at the products of the future. Why wouldn't you start from the perspective of using AI to handle your search function?
But and I'm not sure, again, it's the input that's convenient to us. Chat is one input. Let's say my refrigerator is, I don't know, the light is broken. I can just take a picture and say why this red light is on. I don't even have to speak.
Yeah.
Or sometimes video is the best way to me to explain what's happening.
Sure.
And so AI will bring it to a level that's most convenient to you. Do you prefer to speak? Do you prefer to chat? Do you prefer which language? Which vocabulary, slang? No, it's convenient to you as a user to express it. So philosophically for a second, I think we are moving from a way that we as consumers have to adapt to companies, because we know for this company it's better to call them, for this it's better to chat.
Right.
I want to have the interface is convenient to me, and the company will adapt.
Yeah, or I'll go somewhere else. I'll go to the company that will adapt.
And it will be most convenient to me. Maybe for me, for instance, as someone with a thick accent, it's better to write English. My writing in English is better than my speaking.
Well, that's going to be solved with AI pretty soon.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, for me, it's very nice to express, to write it, because I'm kind of short, to the point. When I start speaking, they don't get some of the words, numbers, this. So again, it's convenient to me. Some people just prefer to speak. So whatever works for you.
All right. Well, for a person who's been pretty much in innovation their entire lives, how do you define innovation? What does innovation mean to you?
So we go into more philosophical question, is mathematics discovered?
Or is it just there and exposed?
Yeah, or we just found it.
That's funny. That's funny. I just read On Writing by Stephen King. This came up in a couple episodes ago as well. But in it, he says the ideas that he has. Do you know what Stephen King is? Unbelievable fiction writer, horror writer. The ideas are already there. He's like a anthropologist or a, paleontologist dusting off the bones.
Yeah.
He's just crafting the story that's already there.
So,
is it the same thing for you?
I think, and again, this is my speculation. I think the AI is trained on the current level of human knowledge, and there is corollary and derivative of this human knowledge that we didn't articulate because we didn't make the connection yet. But I want to believe there is something beyond the current capture human knowledge that we just didn't discover, that we as human will discover and the AI cannot discover because it's not in the data that it was trained on.
Fascinating.
So innovation will always belong to the human, you think?
That's my hope as a human.
As a human.
All right.
Well said. One question we always like to end with. Is there anything you're reading right now that you really enjoy you'd recommend to our audience, or anything you're learning about?
Okay, so it's two different questions. Actually, the last book that I read is called Smart Brevity.
Smart brevity.
That it's actually related to this because I tend to write very detailed Slack messages and email, and when I communicate, partly I know too much on some stuff, and partly it's to show off because I know too much. But when you read the Smart Brevity, the first thing they said is the human attention span after the first 6 words goes down. Doesn't matter how motivated you are, how much they pay you, whatever. It's like how much coffee you had. Just like we slow down. So say the most important stuff at the beginning and say it in the simplest way. Don't use words like about. Yes, if you write 3 million, it's about. It's not, it didn't.
Yeah.
So it's actually made a lot of impact on my communication to kind of increase my bandwidth. So that's a book. In terms of paper, I'm very interested these days in, from a machine learning perspective, in fine-tuning and distillation. So let me maybe kind of go a little bit scientific for a second. Currently there is these big models, and the question is, and I gave example of Archef, how to create what you need. Why do we need a model about astrology or archaeology when I do customer service or when you do any other application? So there is this technology that's currently it's available of fine-tuning. OpenAI is fine-tuning 3.5 Turbo. Google, their model, have bought fine-tuning and another form of supervised fine-tuning, another form called RLHF. But eventually there will be a technology that, I think one example of it is distillation step by step, is the ability to take a very large model and say that I'm only interested in this problem. Take this large model and create from it, derive from it a smaller model that has all the power of this big model, but only on the specific domain.
Yeah.
So I see it coming, and I'm reading a lot of stuff about it because it will be very relevant to us because I'm kind of going up level now. ADA, and I think every company that develop AI, is how to create a defensible AI. What's unique about your AI that people cannot copy? And part of it is creating your own custom model
data.
based on your first-party application data.
Wow.
And that's part of my focus and my reading papers these days.
Wow.
Is there a concept yet of like the minimum viable model? Like to be able to solve all the problems you want to solve in a given domain?
It's actually a good thought. I didn't think
Yeah.
about it. It's a good thought. Probably there is.
Because that's what you're saying, essentially. Like, what is the minimum viable model that will solve all the problems in the domain we want to solve?
Like Occam Razor, what's the best
Yeah,
model,
exactly.
but
And
not
nothing more.
Yeah, and it's a good way to think about it. I didn't think
Yeah.
about it this way. And the only thing I can say concretely to this, if you read paper about, it's still in academic, about distillation, they're speaking about reducing a model by order of magnitude, by constraining the problem, so and increasing speed and reducing cost and all of this stuff, good stuff, while maintaining very good performance on this domain. So we're talking about currently of at least order of magnitude from the best model out there.
That's cool.
And still in the research, we have to see it in our domain.
You still have a lot of work to do. You better get back to work.
Well,
sir.
I'm working on it.
You heard it here first. Minimum viable model.
Yeah, that's a good innovation by Sean.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
by Sean. So.
Yochai Konig, thank you so much for being here with
Thank
us on
you,
the
Austin.
Product Momentum podcast, coming at you live from Pendomonium 2023.
Good to meet you, sir. Thank you.
A pleasure.
Thanks for all the work you're doing in the
Thanks so
industry.
much.
Thank you.